What's going on? It's the Rap Nerd, and we are at a new theater to see Sonic 3. Turn around, see if you can see it. Studio Movie Grill. My daughter's never been here before, so this is going to be a first time taking her. Are you ready to see
Yeah.
Sonic 3?
Yeah.
And we also got the grandparents here as well. They came down and figured we'd add them to our adventure, so we're about to go in and see this movie, and we will be back out with a review.
Dad, can I say something first?
Sure.
Watch more videos and subscribe to Daddy's channel.
Alright, peace. Ooh, we here.
Look how big that. Look at that.
We got the Sonic 3 poster. I just got back from seeing Sonic 3, and this is a direct sequel to Sonic 2. So to get into a little bit of the plot, a hedgehog that looks similar to Sonic has been broken out of what is kind of like a coma of 50 years by the Secret Service known as Gun. Once Shadow is out, he has a plan of vengeance to do wrong to those who put him in this place. And he gets help from Eggman and also Eggman's long lost grandfather, who also has something to do with Shadow and feels wronged in the same way. So they go on this mission to destroy Earth, and the gang, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, have to stop them. Now I want to say off rip, this film was just one of the most entertaining times I've had in cinema, because I am a huge Sonic fan ever since he was birthed in the 90s. And Shadow being one of my favorite newer characters back then, of course, I feel like Knuckles is my favorite, but then you have Shadow like literally right there because of him being an anti-villain and just a cool ass character. And from that standpoint alone, this movie crushes it with Shadow. You get to understand his motives. They do enough backstory to really delve deep into why he seeks so much revenge and feels so wrong. They did a really, really great job of that I didn't get in the game. And granted, the game I'm speaking about is Sonic Battle 2. I had that game in the first one. I have not played any of the solo Shadow games, so I don't know what backstory they filled in, but I just know based off of what I've seen in the game and played in the game, they don't give this much depth to Shadow's backstory. Of course, he has a connection with Maria, who they show in the trailers as well, so it's not really a spoiler, but they show even more of a connection of how he built himself up in a relationship with her as a friend and what goes on to put him on this path of vengeance. So they did an incredible job with him. I mean, the first 15-20 minutes, they waste no time and they jump directly into the story. And then that Shadow scene when he first appears and breaks out, chef's kiss, the way they show his powers. And they also do a few changes with his powers in a sense with using the chaos control. And I actually like this way that they went about it. And again, they could have changed it in the other games and added that to his backstory, but based off of my knowledge from just Sonic 2, it was a little different. So I like that they just gave him the chaos control power instead of having to do certain things to use it, because it just made him that much more unique as a character and just stronger. And it makes sense as to why he's able to do all the things that he can do in the film. That all of his action sequences are top tier, especially the one from the trailer when he shows up in Tokyo. I just absolutely loved it. Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, all of them are just as great as they are in the previous films. I enjoyed what they did with their relationships too as friends and becoming a team. They aren't really on the best terms because they just became a team in the last film, so they're still struggling with that and getting to know each other. They even have moments of button heads, which I like that they show, because the same way in the comics, Knuckles is very headstrong and very warrior-like in the way he handles things, and you see him butt heads with Sonic, because Sonic is just kind of he's kind of loose with what he does. He just hopes for the best and does things, and it doesn't always go well with Knuckles in the same regard. So I love that. And even with Tails being the tech genius he is. I like his expansive technology use even more in this movie, allowing for different things to happen that we've seen happen in the games and even in the comics. And I feel like they really made these characters progress in what we know them for, and I thought that that was great as well. And again, Eggman and Jim Carrey just putting on a show. Like, every time I've seen him in these movies, it just takes me back to that 90s vintage peak Jim Carrey of using body humor to his best abilities, from facial expressions to contorting his body. I mean, there's one scene where he's like doing the worm across the screen and it's in a wide and it just looks so silly, and he is just one of the greatest ever. Like, I love Jim Carrey, and again here he just kills it, especially being two different Eggmen, you know, the grandfather and the Eggman that we already know. He plays both of these characters and does so many great things with each character leaning on their differences and their similarities at the same time, and I found it to be a blast to watch him do all of these different things. And all the supporting actors did what they needed to do. It's not like this is an Oscar show and the performances are going to be at a top tier level, but they were where they were supposed to be to let the CGI characters shine, which I enjoyed. Now, moving on to the story, I will say that this film, I think, has less action overall than the last film. I think the last film like really kicked it into overdrive with the action to make you feel like the game. But what I will say is the action is pretty front loaded and back loaded. So you have a good portion of it in the beginning in that third act. And that third act, when the action does hit, oh my, like, I found myself smiling ear to ear. Like, my daughter was telling me a second ago, we were talking about the movie, and she was just like, I kept looking at you and you were just smiling the whole time. And I'm just like, you don't understand. As a Sonic fan of this IP for such a long time, the things that they do in this film, just like, I got teary-eyed watching it, because I was like, are they really doing this? Did they really do the thing? And then they did the thing again, and then they did the other thing. Like, the third act in itself has like 3 different action components within the third act that just take it up a notch more and more, that just left me grinning and loving what I saw. Like, I'm like, I could have done 20 more minutes of this piece, because the action and the fighting, dog, there is no reason why we cannot do a Dragon Ball Z movie based on what I just saw here. I said it back then when I saw Sonic 2, that after seeing Man of Steel, after seeing Aquaman, after seeing Shang-Chi, Sonic 2, and now Sonic 3, there is no reason they can't do a Dragon Ball movie with justice, or like even a Naruto movie, or whatever anime that has to do with superpowers and super fighting. There's no excuse. They can do that, because they just do some things in here that I'm like, wow, this is like literally ripped straight from something that I would see from anime, and it all worked so well. I don't want to spoil it, but God, they're just, that third act, man, the moments when the action ramps up, it is just glorious to see on the big screen. Holy moly. Junkie XL did the score, and there are moments when I'm sitting here looking like, damn, am I watching Man of Steel right now? Like, the drum patterns that he likes to use, that he uses a lot in Man of Steel and all of Zack Snyder's work. Like, there are these specific drums that he likes to use, and he put that perfectly in the sequences when there was action, and it just really ramped it up so much, man. And oh, what a blast this film was. And then the post-credit scene, oh my. I'm telling you, when that scene popped up, I legitimately let out a, oh, not caring who was around. And my daughter was just shocked, because something that's her favorite showed up in the post-credit. That's all I'm gonna say. And we were just like, yep, Sonic 4, we have to go back and watch that. So all in all, I had a absolute blast with this film. I'll say the first and third act are like the strongest parts, and the second act I wouldn't say is weak, but there's a whole lot of explanation and things going through backstory and all of this because of how things happen. We have to know about Shadow and his background, and we have to know about Grandpa Eggman and how he's involved and how these two connect. And it's a lot of Secret Service type things going on, and it's, like I said, the action takes a slow movement here, but I think it works well because of the ground being covered in regards to like making the characters and backstory work to get to the third act to where it matters. And again, they just went full on game mode and I loved it. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the film. What were your favorite moments? And try not to spoil it. If a moment that you love is a spoiler, trying to kind of hint around it so, you know, not to spoil it for everybody else, because the Sonic fans are getting a huge helping with this film. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. And until next time, peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.